Good afternoon, Chair and members. My names are Caroline Akelo Mugisha. I am the Director, Regulation and Legal Services at Nita-U Uganda.
Good afternoon, Honorable Chair, Honorable members. My name is Julian Roiju. I'm the Director, E-Government Services at Nita Uganda.
Thank you, Honorable members. My name is Daniel Kikwaya, Manager Internal Audit, Nita.
Good afternoon, members, honorable members, and my name is Okelo Alimas. I'm internal auditor, Nita-U.
Good afternoon, Honorable Chair and honorable members. My names are Edmund Macheli. I work with Nita Uganda as the project coordinator for the Uganda Digital Acceleration Project. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and honorable members. My name is Claire Nasirumbi, the project accountant.
Thank you. Honorable colleagues, anyone who has just entered, please access the microphone and introduce yourself. Honorable Bruce, did you introduce yourself? Then remind your neighbor.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon. I'm Okuri Joffrey, representing Vunga South Mbale. Welcome.
Thank you. Another member? I think we are good to go. Well, we are now we are interfacing with the National Information Technology Authority, Uganda. I want to apologize for the late start, but we are here. And thank you for honoring our invitation to have an interface over the Auditor General's report. Interestingly, the whole team looks a very youthful team. I hope you are still energetic to respond to all the critical issues, both within the Auditor General's report and arising. Well balanced? But away from that, of course, your report is before us with a number of critical issues. And one key aspect, colleagues have seen a letter, an advisory letter from the clerk in terms of meetings. Our scheduled meetings for this week will proceed as planned. I think for tomorrow we have a meeting. Then as we schedule the subsequent meetings, we shall consult and see how best and where possible to adjust. But as for now, for this week, our scheduled interactions, I think we have an interaction for tomorrow. And I think Friday, we don't have an interaction. But for tomorrow, we have an interaction. I guess the relevant documents will be accessed by the members before close of today. Now, back to Nita-U. We have on behalf of Ugandans and as legislators, of course, it is concerning looking through your the Auditor General's report. I think one critical aspect and observation by the Auditor General is on accumulation of areas, domestic areas. You don't want to pay. It presupposes. And your attempt to pay has been also questioned within the Auditor General's report. I'm seeing that your accumulated areas were in the range of 77.1 billion. You planned for payment of 2 billion, but again went again to pay 27.58 billion. Now, that represents an overpayment, I think of around of 27.58. Is it? It raises issues and has been highlighted by the Auditor General. Of course, when you look at the areas, it appears there's an increase by 4% in terms of areas. Away from the other overpayment of over almost 25 billion, then you have also an increase in areas. It would be very, very, very vital that in your opening statements and introductory remarks, you hint on that, whereas we shall also interrogate the Auditor General's report and go into the details. I've also come across a concern or a letter. I hope it is not true, of the Uganda Digital Acceleration Project, the project of United States dollars 200 million. The available information in the public is that you are failing to utilize this grant, and I think it also ignited several write-ups from the World Bank, of course raising concerns over the utilization, the delayed utilization, and what is concerning is that the reports indicate that part of the cause is internal fights, intrigue. Now that you are here and you want to be well certain that all is well in Nita-U, I think you also need to give us an update. We are praising the team as being young in the face of their appearance. We don't know the age, but the reports are indicating a lot of internal fights, intrigue, that is affecting service delivery. For example, this particular project was supposed to accelerate internet coverage not only for the public, also for government. I want, in your opening remarks, to give us a better version of what is happening in Nita-U before we proceed to the Auditor General's report and then the financials. I now invite you to respond with your opening remarks before we go into now your responses.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, and thank you, members, for recognizing the gender balance and youthful team that we have at NITA. We score very highly with the QT score, and we are proud of that, to show that IT is not just only for the boy child, but also we have very qualified and leaders in ICT for the ladies, and this is something that we are proud of at NITA, and I thank you for recognizing that. I also would like to appreciate the committee's work in identifying those key areas. This is an area that you have pointed out, the areas, the domestic area, and also the UDA project. And I will first make a comment on UDAP, Uganda Digital Acceleration Project. This is a facility and our development partner, the World Bank Group, and it was a $2 million facility that was meant to connect and fully connect the country as we stand right now. Although when we started the project, we were below 50% connected in terms of the fiber optic cable across the country. Through the partnership with the World Bank and also another development partner, Exim Bank, and through the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance, we formulated a project. This is a GovNet, or Government Network. This was meant to connect 100% of the country with a national backbone. So we're moving from below 50 to 100%. It was also meant to build systems or the e-government facilities. These are the systems that we use. And also the e-government center or the data center, build a data center so that we can build systems and also store our data locally. And it was also meant to extend facilities to the underserved and unserved regions and the host and refugee communities. The UDA project, as you have rightly stated, Honorable Chair, yes, there were challenges that were faced. When we started the discussion with the development partner, there were steps that we had to undertake. And part of those steps were the approvals both from the government side and the World Bank side. While the World Bank was quick to approve, and I believe it was approved in May 2024, if I get my facts right, 2022. In May 2022, the government approval took a while to get concluded, and the World Bank clock starts to count when the board of the World Bank approves. So with that, we were already on the clock, and there were already delays, yet the project had not been commenced. We had to go through a couple of approvals at the ministries level, parliament, cabinet, until when it was concluded and fully operationalized. By the time it was operationalized, 2 years had gone down the road, and the World Bank already flagged it as a problem project. So we went back to Ministry of Finance and even the World Bank and informed them of this challenge. We are operating a project, yet the clock had already started and 2 years were already gone without doing anything on ground. We informed the bank. They took note of the misalignment in approving projects. It was noted that it's not just only with UDAP, but it cuts across all World Bank funded projects. While other development partners, we saw that for them the clock starts when the commencement of works start. An example is the NBI Phase 5 with the Chinese Exim Bank. That project started with the works commenced on ground, and we are on track. While the World Bank project, it was already stated as a problem status. With that, we had to expedite our internal procurement processes and the World Bank processes, but also we noted that still the World Bank procurement process was a hindrance to achieving full success to the project. A case in point, when we are undertaking a procurement, we recognize, or the financing agreement recognizes the procurement laws of the country, but then we follow the World Bank procurement guidelines. In the World Bank procurement guidelines, we have to get no objection from the World Bank before we can begin implementation. Some activities will take close to, I believe there's one that took almost about 15 months for a no objection. And there were a couple other activities that delayed, and we raised that concern through our ministry, through the Ministry of Finance, who was the guarantor of the loan, and the bank. We had to have a meeting with the bank where they recognized, but then it was within their guidelines, which a bit had to restructure or to amend, but one of the recommendations was to have their staff come down, because we're working with an offline team in Washington, D.C., but to get procurement faster, they had to restructure their whole IT delivery team, and they came down, and we saw improvement. A couple of other challenges, that is the major factor in the delay of the project. The other challenges,
before you leave that, the fair copy of the document, the letter from the World Bank. This letter dated, I hope you have that copy. They have a letter dated 7th January 2025. The letter from the World Bank.
Honorable Chair, we have it on record, but I didn't come prepared with it. I will access it.
Yes, but I'm interested in the content because the World Bank itself is complaining, is concerned with the low disbursement, the delays in clearing vital contracts. Then there were issues to do with non-starter projects you had considered. Now, is it possible that they occasion the delay and turn around to blame it on you? And at what stage did the government of Uganda, or which year did the government of Uganda offer the approval?
Honorable Chair, the government of Uganda offered the approval in, I believe, 2024. I don't remember the exact month, but it was in 2024 when, I believe it was towards December 2024. I'll get the confirmed approval, but also, Honorable Chair, yes, while we were raising the matters, we showed evidence that actually the delays are initiated from the bank, and we also have that on record, and we'll be happy to share that.
You have copies of your responses?
Yes.
Maybe available to the committee through the clerk.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I will share that with the committee. Honorable Chair and members, the other matters on the World Bank was an issue on, because we had lost time, an issue on having full completion in light of that time that we had. We had to restructure the project to enable us conclude the activities, but there was notice that some activities could not or were not possible to be concluded, and there was also some legal matters around the activities which were being handled by the Minister of ICT and the Attorney General, specifically on the implementation of the backbone extension. This is a fiber optic cable extending to the regions where there's no internet. Second one was development of a third national data center. Those were not, the World Bank did not recommend including them, and they recommended a reduced scope so that we can ably conclude with extension of 18 months. Honorable Chair and members, I will also have that on record, and we'll be happy to share the correspondence and recommendation from the World Bank.
Now, because the breakdown, I think from the records I could access, $60 million was for grants. How far have you moved with issuing with the grants, and then $140 million for credits? Could you give us a breakdown, the current status of this $200 million facility?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I would like to call upon the project coordinator to give a very detailed breakdown of the scope. As stated, it was reduced by about $40 million. However, the activities in the grant and the IDA loan are complementary. So, like when we're taking last mile, we're taking last mile both for the loan and the grant. Bulk internet, we purchase bulk internet both for the loan and the grant. So they are complementary activities and they are moving together. But I call upon,
let's get the updates.
Project coordinator.
Thank you, Edie, and thank you, Honorable Chair. Just to clarify, on the World Bank approval date was June of 2021.
June 2021.
Yes, correct. And then Parliament approved in May of 2023.
May 2023.
Yes. So it's in that year that we were able to start procuring the implementation team and put together the mechanisms internally to start the project. So it effectively started in January of 2024.
Okay.
So the completion date was May of 2026. So we only had about 2 years or 2.5 to complete a 5-year project, with the delays that occasioned by COVID and so on. But to your earlier question, credit and grant component of funding sources. There was, as you might rightly pointed out, 60 million and then 140.
Yes.
And in terms of utilization, first of all, there was a restructuring, as the ED has mentioned.
On which was there reduction? The 60 for grants or the 140 for please?
So it was a prorated reduction affecting both grant and credit.
Okay.
And that reduced the overall funding from $200 million to $150 million.
Yes.
Largely because the activities that had been planned to be implemented over a 5-year period could not be implemented in a short period of under 2 years. That was the greatest challenge for the World Bank. And they would not commit to give no objections related to that sort of, or to any of those activities. So they said, to be realistic and practical or pragmatic, let us restructure the project and only leave activities that are feasible for completion by August of 2027. So that's how we ended up with a restructuring from.
Okay, give us a breakdown.
Okay, we'll give you the breakdown, sir. Yes, but to date, in terms of the commitments, we have
for under grants.
Yes. So under the grant component. Yes, so under the grant component, we have commitments of up to $5.4 million.
5.4?
Yes, correction. We have a commitment of $723,000 out of $26 million, which is restructured. And that is largely because we are in the procurement phase of the restructured scope as of now. In terms of the credit component, that is at around $90 million. That is what has been committed. So out of the $150 million of the restructured scope, we've actually been able to sign contracts worth $90.9 million. And we have submitted draft contracts this week to Solicitor General of $9.4 million. So we would say contracts that are both at draft and are currently under implementation at about over $100 million of the 150. Chair.
You know, why we are I pick interest in this. This was a grant that was supposed to enable you, for example, install Wi-Fi spots in various parts of the country, especially rural areas, broadband expansion, digital services, including services to government agencies. Now, when this money is given you until it is returned, or it is unutilized, there are serious issues and questions. I hope your responses to them will be convincing. Because what about the allegations of infighting? This one wants to award this one, another wants to award this one. How is contracting being done internally? MD.
Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Are you aware of some disputes within Nita-U?
I'm not aware of any disputes within Nita-U.
What is affecting contracting?
The contracting, or what is, and this is something that I had put in my opening remarks, the biggest issue in contracting is the delay in getting no objections. That is one. We also observe some delays in clearing within our internal processes, which we also, through our Ministry of ICT, sat down with the stakeholders and they were able to come to our support, or they provided more support, and we're seeing faster clearance. The other matters which were also observed, and these are probably about 3 or 4, were service providers who in a normal procurement process raise complaints, and those ones, so we also were able to get them through the PPDA office, and all of them were cleared and handled. Within the procurement process right now, as the project coordinators stated, right now we have already signed close to about $100+ million US contracts, and there are others in the pipeline which we expect to also clear and get them off the ground within a couple of weeks or within the month to come. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Bruce.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I want to ask more about the finding by the Auditor General that Nita-U has arrears and conveniently budgets for consumption and ignores the component of arrears. And Chair, I'm not asking for why, but I'm asking how these arrears arise. We are told Nita-U, Chair, is a service provision entity, but is also in the business of trade. And it is trading in bandwidth and other internet-related services. It is trading to agencies of government and private agencies. I want to find out from Nita-U, besides them explaining how these arrears arise, I also want to find out how do you differentiate the purchased bandwidth, or I don't know whether you manufacture it or wherever you get it from, how you differentiate the one you give to government agencies for which you expect little budgeting, you are complaining of little budgeting or under budgeting by government, and what you sell to private entities for which government has no obligation to budget, and how you, and the process you go through to now commit this money that you receive from selling internet to the private agencies now to the consolidated fund. Is there a relationship in that regard? I submit, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mobero. You record down so that you answer at once. Honorable Musisi, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. I have a couple of comments which I would wish to get a reaction from Nita-U. For starters, the Chair mentioned about the arrears, but I'm now more interested in those ones which you're supposed to collect, because I remember it was also a comment from the Auditor General that you should enhance your debt recovery measures. First of all, we would wish to know what you've done in this regard, possibly with how far have you gone in collecting the money that you're meant to collect from MDAs that are not paying. Is it possible to share with us a list of those MDAs such that we also cross-check with them to see why they're not paying? It would be important that we get that list, and if possible, what measures you've taken. Then secondly, this is also one of the comments which came up. The Auditor General was advising that, and I know among the comments you've mentioned that for purposes of improving the regulatory framework, especially in light of AI, we need some bit of regulations in that regard. And the comment was that there are some other stakeholders, it's caught up in some chain in some other stakeholders. So would wish to know how far you've gone in engaging those stakeholders. What is the progress now? What is the status now? In light of the fact that Nita-U is going to be rationalized, I think, towards the end of next year. So would wish to have possibly that regulatory framework in place if it's not, and I'm mindful of the fact that it's not Nita-U which does all the work, there are other people, but would wish to know who is holding up the chain, such that we know where to put the emphasis on, because it was a comment that the compliance regulatory framework needs to be improved in light of improving technologies. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Maribunaki.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now, I'm aware, maybe in the next 1 year, Nita-Uganda will not be a going concern. It is going to close, I think, next year. And there are receivables and payables that you have not cleared. I want you just update us on the status, all the steps you are taking, so that you close down in an orderly manner, because I've seen some organizations which were taken to ministries, people are still demanding their money, and also you are tying people's capital if you don't pay very fast. So you address how the going concern issue of Nita-U is being handled. Then I've also seen the depreciation charge on your assets is about it is 8 billion depreciation charge for the year in 2025, compared to the assets, the revenue of 151. It is about 60%. Your depreciation charge is about 60% of your revenue. What that means is that the assets are not contributing significantly to revenue growth. So what steps are you taking to improve your revenue? Or is it that you have redundant assets which are being depreciated but they are not contributing to sales? Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe on rationalization, I want to remind all accounting officers, including the one of Nita-U, that whether the agency is rationalized or turned back to the mother ministry, the principle of accountability remains that every accounting officer, when in charge of a vote, you will remain accountable for that vote in terms of the Auditor General's report. So don't misappropriate or misuse your offices or government money hoping to get cover up. No. The accountability principles enshrined within our constitution apply. And it shouldn't be worry. We shall hold accountable and invite every accounting officer as and when the Auditor General's report is presented for the period that a person or an individual is the accounting officer. You can respond to that for now. MD.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. And I apologize, I did not finish my opening remarks.
You can respond to that and also finish your opening remarks.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Chair. The area budget and is specifically or explicitly on the internet, the cost of internet or the consumption of internet is where I want to emphasize in this statement. Nita, when Nita was put in place, the backbone, the national backbone infrastructure was connecting, I believe, only 26 offices of government, the original phase 1 implementation. We went into phase 2, that is 26 within Kampala and Entebbe. Phase 2 was to expand now to the regions, central region and beyond, by extending last mile connectivity. We went on till now we are implementing phase 4, but in phase 3, and this is where I want to specifically emphasize on, because that's where we saw a spike in usage. In phase 4, we had close to about 400, at the beginning of phase 4, there were 400 government officers connected to backbone. However, that's a time when also the budget allocation for government officers from the Ministry of Finance was availed to NITA. It was consolidated and provided to NITA. Provided a budget for only 400 government officers with the corruption at that time of, I believe it was in 2018. In 2020, when COVID affected most of our work, we saw a high spike, and that's when we were also concluding phase 4. We increased from 400 to 200 government agencies. By the end of COVID, we were close to about 1,200 government agencies, consuming more than what was allocated for in the original budget. We have been raising this concern to the Ministry of Finance to provide additional budget. We are now in phase 5 and we have been extending, and we are seeing more demand. The demand is increasing. Last year we had a 25%, that is in Uganda, regionally in Uganda, an increase in internet usage, both in the public and the private sector, NITA inclusive. Our usage is increasing, the consumption, the bandwidth of what we're using it, what maybe one person was using in 2028 is right now they're using 5 times plus more data. And this is...
Maybe MD, I know I invited you earlier. Those who are badged off, you can turn to the other table, then return.
And Chair, maybe just to expound on that so that he answers it together.
Was there a question?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Because now you are expanding to usage being higher than what was expected and planned. You don't manufacture internet, right?
Honorable Chair, through you, Honorable Chair, no, we don't manufacture internet.
So where do you get the internet you give to people who have not paid you?
Yes. Honorable Chair, we access the undersea cable to consume internet. We get internet from the undersea cable, and this is one of the areas that we are trying to address. How do we, not manufacture, but how do we generate traffic locally or regionally by creating data centers that are now going to hold that information? Most of the systems or the information that we are accessing within government is in the international realm. So we need that international traffic. We're also communicating with international partners. So there's a lot of communication that is relevant for the international traffic, but also locally we have our data centers that can create that traffic or that can host our systems, and by hosting the systems then we can minimize the dependency on the international traffic.
Because Chair, and this is the last Chair on this part, the problem that we see, which the Auditor General has raised, and which you don't seem to hint on attempting to solve, is that you have gone into the market to get internet into Uganda and commit Uganda into credit without any inch of regulation when you are the vendor. So you are continuously providing internet to agencies of government, creating domestic areas, which is against all those governing resources in the country, and you don't seem to have a line of control where you are going to say, Ministry of Finance, the internet bandwidth you paid for is 1 billion. This is what we have supplied. It is exhausted in September. Let the government of Uganda plan afresh. Because under the circumstances, Chair, we can easily exhaust the budget of Uganda on commitments to internet without regulation. So the line of regulation and the commitment to stop domestic areas and budget discipline, because this is indiscipline, to be very honest, in terms of committing the country. And it is an area where this committee is charged with ensuring that the outflow of government money is not careless, is not aimless, is not unregulated. That's the area of concern.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, and through the Honorable Chair. Yes, I also strongly believe we need to provide...
He's not a minister, he's a member of parliament.
So I apologize. Honorable Member of Parliament.
He looks like a minister, but yes. but you answer.
We have been similarly voicing that concern to the Minister of Finance. We have been through that budgeting process, and that's one of the documents we're going to share, to show that we had budgeted for the consumption, fully budgeted for the consumption of arts of the current usage, not that the usage of 2018. It was as of the current financial year usage. This financial year also we have provided a budget recommendation from Minister of Finance. Within the budget call circular, we also emphasized, and through the cabinet decision, it was emphasized that all government agencies should consume that data or internet from the national backbone, and for us to enable us to utilize the infrastructure that government has set up. We also took it further to engage the Minister of Finance to specifically, because one of the issues that we are facing is, while the budget for some agencies is consolidated, that's the one that they consolidated, but it was only for the 400 agencies. Now we are close to, by end of this financial year, we'll be in about 2,000 agencies. It has grown up, and usage has also grown up. So the consolidation, the allocation of budget, Minister of Finance, we've been working with them to ensure that they consolidate and allocate more funds to the agencies that are consuming this data. But there's also the issue of the budget in terms of the accounting ledgers, or the challenges that Finance was saying, that they provide a holistic budget entry or entry value to each agency. We want to categorize what needs to be allocated to the agencies so that those agencies don't take the budget as ICT and then they begin procuring on other services, yet they're not paying for internet. So the internet accounting ledger code was also formed within the accounting system so that when they allocate money to those agencies, they are not supposed to reallocate or they should not pay for their, or they should not default in internet. But we also been engaging the agencies. We have the demand notes from as back as 2023 when the spike increased. All that evidence, Honorable Chair, we will be sharing that with you. Honorable Chair, on the categorization of the different types of internet purchases or the kind of internet that is utilized on the backbone, I would like to call the Director of Technical Service to articulate it for Director.
Thank you, Chair and members. So in terms of provision of the internet, one of the things that Cabinet did as far as 2012-2013 was to rationalize resources under the NBI, and so Cabinet approved a strategy through which Nita-U, or the sector, ICT sector, provide services to the entities. And the NBI was made as one of the primary vehicles for all government data, including hosting applications and the like. Now, specifically for internet, which is being provisioned from the backbone, we procure internet in the spirit of creating synergy. Instead of every government entity going to either private company, government through Cabinet thought it wise to consolidate this requirement under the NBI, that every government entity must be connected under the backbone, through the backbone. And so part of that strategy was to purchase or procure bulk internet bandwidth through which then we would distribute to the respective government entities. And so we buy from the upstream, we purchase from bulk internet from the upstream, which we then distribute through the backbone as we continue the rollout. So we have what we call the upstream bandwidth from the upstream, the undersea cable, which ED has been talking about, and then we distribute it through our network to the end users, which is the government entity. And of course, that is what now the end users actually consume. And these issues that are coming up is the capacity that is being consumed by the individual entities. But as government from Nita-U side, we have that capacity which we purchased under the projects. So we have a long-term agreement with those undersea cable providers so that we can continue with the provision. So currently, what we are talking about here is the internet, which is actually used. We've signed long-term contracts with the upstream of about 15 years, over 15 years, and because of our growth, the growth has actually been increasing. And like Edie has said, during we saw a spike because government entities were putting services online. Previously, someone would walk through, say you're applying for a passport. You have to fill a form and go to, say, NIRA or Directorate of Immigration. But now these are things that you can now do within the comfort of your, you can actually apply for this. So we saw during COVID that many government entities were actually putting their services now online as compared to the time when we started providing services in 2013-14 through the backbone. So that spike, that increase is actually what we are talking about here. That utilization has increased over time, and then there's a need also for government to plan in terms of the entities must be encouraged to plan for this, for their utilization. Every financial year we do an assessment of the respective government entities to understand their usage, because many of them are also developing solutions that need to be put onto the internet, which can be accessed online. So we do some assessment with them, and while we are providing this service, ensure that we test, but in the process of testing, it gives us what capacity then can we give these entities. But again, the challenge is, while much as they want a higher utilization, resources limit their constraints in terms of budgeting, and that's where we find some of these challenges, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Nangoli.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, in relation to what Honorable Naki asked, when you go to page 15, to the cash flow statements for the financial ended 30th June, and compensation of employees, the figure as of 30th June 2025 was 12.6 billion. When you go to page
Honorable Nangoli, please direct them to know that on the same page. Please.
On page 15, you know, I'm holding my paper so that I don't miss any page. That's why you see my
15 of the financial statements.
Yes.
I hope you are there, Edie. Okay.
Page 15. And compensation of employees as of 30th June on the cash flow statement, 12.166290,694 billion. When you go to page 17, statement of appropriation, which is 12.110,68694, difference of about 55,610,000. When you go to page 30, under note 9, compensation still of employees, under note 9 on page 30. Employee expense, the total employee costs, zero, 2, 1. Which is which? Difference of around 732. You need to give us an explanation on these three that does not correlate to the same figure. Because here, you have got it. On this three. Because the actual performance here was 12.110. Which is which? Which one is the correct figure that we should consider?
You have already response or?
Honorable, we have a response.
Yes.
Yes. Honorable Chair, I wanted to first conclude on a matter that was raised, that is...
no, what you do, because you're not that, yes. But I want us to move this way. Yes. We have now the Auditor General's report. Now, as you are attempting to answer some of these, go to your response. Because when you talk about domestic areas, let's answer that issue and sort it out. Then proceed to, let's answer in line with the response and the Auditor General's report. After we exhaust this one, we'll proceed to the financials. Otherwise, you are getting a mix-up. Finish up your response, but go back to your prepared responses. These matters, because most of these questions are arising from there. Yes. But as you are answering them, you're also clearing one item off.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No. think those questions are going to emerge in their response. We are going to task them. What you do, you must have a response to the Auditor General's queries. Please respond,
and
then we engage after getting your response.
Chair.
Let him proceed and respond so that we organized. You proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I'll go straight to the auditor's queries and responses. And the first is on the rationalization of NITA, which is related to also a question that was raised by one of the honorable members.
I think the response is in this big booklet.
Yes.
I can see page 1 of 11. I don't know which page is there. Are you taking us through something like this?
That is an older version. We had an updated version, which we had circulated.
This one in the...
Yes, Honorable Chair.
Okay.
On rationalization, we took note of the issues and concerns, and we have been continuing engaging the means of ICT and also the means of public service and means of finance, specifically on the transitional mechanism of the transition, and looking at also this was specifically from the means of public service, the lessons learned on the agencies that have been rationalized. There were some areas also like the receivables and the payables and our financial standing at that time and how to handle it. That engagement is still ongoing. However, we also took note of the other mandates of the authority, like the development of an AI regulation, which is already in place. This is a process that we have already started. We have engaged stakeholders in various fields. It's an area which globally we see there's going to be a tremendous need for adoption, not just only in the private sector, but also governments have to come in and provide a regulatory framework to avoid the misuse. Already we are regulating just the ICT field, but now when we're going to AI, we're talking about automation and artificial intelligence, and this is where, if not handled well, there will be a lot of fraud committed, but that is being also the regulations and the standards, the national standards are being developed. We hope to have them out even before the rationalization of the authority. Honorable Chair and members, we also take note of the need for ICT to be the need for ICT as a catalyst for the tenfold development. While the proposals to rationalize NITA, we cannot achieve the tenfold if we are going analog. We need to be digital, and the functions have to be maintained. The functions of the authority have to be maintained, and this is an area that, as government, we request we review and see the benefits vis-a-vis the benefits of maintaining the functions of the authority vis-a-vis rolling them up. We have seen in different economies already they are setting up AI agencies in East Africa. We were discussing with the industry players where they are insisting on AI to be a specialized authority, or a specialized, it should be handled in a specialized way. We should not bundle it up, otherwise we will end up being diluted, or should be diluted. We need to focus on the emerging technologies and how the emerging technologies can benefit the economy. Honorable Chair and members, that is on rationalization. Honorable Chair.
So your position is, much as you are prepared to comply with the rationalization roadmap, you also have the view that it will serve the country better if Nita-U is maintained as an independent entity.
Honorable Chair, not just being maintained. The world is changing. We need to look beyond just what even we're performing.
And you said you're engaging government?
We have been engaging the government, the public service, to see how, if Nita is maintaining, how do the functions, how will they not be affected, but also how can we grow to meet the global needs?
Okay, let's move to the substantive issues on areas, domestic areas, 1.2.
Honorable Chair, on domestic areas, we assessed the domestic areas of the authority, and they were at 109 billion Ghanaian shillings. And with that, we have been, probably I would like to ask the manager finance to elaborate more on that.
But the critical question here is, how did you end up paying 25.5 billion when actually you had been you had planned and you had been allocated 2 billion for domestic areas? How did you arrive here? How was this expenditure done? Do you now determine on your own how to use a available resource?
No, Chair. We had engagements with Ministry of Finance. One, to increase our allocation for domestic areas so that we could go ahead and pay. We're able to, one, have a supplementary budget within the financial year to clear off these areas. Secondly, we had clearance from Ministry of Finance to pick the current year budget to clear the domestic areas within the financial year due to the criticality of the service.
The engagements are verbal.
You mean
or they are to give us evidence of how you have been engaged?
First of all,
of Finance. Okay.
we need that clarity. But do you want to say that when the auditors were auditing, you could not ably avail this documentation, or you worked on it after the auditor had raised it as a concern?
No, sir. The communication is on file, and we'll avail the copies of the communication to you.
Communication to who?
Yes.
Is it communication or approval?
Both communication and approval from Ministry of Finance.
Was it after the audit, before the audit?
Before the audit.
Did you avail the same to the auditors or not?
Yes, we did.
So are you saying the auditors kept, because they captured your response, that Nita-U has consistently engaged the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, submitted schedules for domestic areas. I don't see any response in relation to approval among your response to the Auditor General. Are you sure you are being honest?
Yes, Chair, we are being honest.
How come you didn't respond the same way to the auditors?
It may have been a gap in communication, but we shall avail it, sir.
Could you avail the relevant documentation? Do you have copies here, or you didn't carry?
We have some copies.
We have some copies, Honorable Chair, but yes, during the audit, we provided these same copies to the auditors. Their response, that is what we received, but the copies were also on record during the
So you have
audit.
proof submitting the same to the auditors?
Yes, Honorable Chair.
How do they receive? They stamp? How do they receive?
We usually receive them at,
Minister of Finance stamps every letter that they receive.
I mean, when you said you provided them to the auditors, how did the auditors receive?
It's a physical copy.
Are you the one who delivered to the auditors?
I work with a group, and among the members who works with the auditors closely.
Who? Is he among you?
Yes, sir.
Where is that person?
He's right next to me.
Please access the mic. What documents did you avail the auditor?
Thank you, Chair. These are the auditors. Usually they work from our offices.
You can put the microphone closer.
Is it on? It's on. Okay, thank you. Okay. So we deliver these documents to the offices, not to the office of the Auditor General, but when they, during the period of audit, we deliver all the necessary documents. I think it was a matter of concern to them charging the current year budget instead of the domestic areas. Yes, it was a matter of concern. So yes, we had all the documents and they were delivered to them.
This is no. Now, Ngoli, you always talk about exit meetings.
Yeah, thank you so much. The younger man has just said that there is always a casual discussion between him and not so. But
No.
Normally during exit meetings, all the things are supposed to be highlighted. They are supposed to be brought on board. And then it's the duty of the auditors to see which one they bring on board and they drop. But now it's like you are not very sure whether you gave them the documents because they are supposed to acknowledge receipt that you have given this. It may not be a stamp, but acknowledge receipt. Like when you bring our the documents to the clerk, he must acknowledge receipt. And if at all it was not done, then you should be able to provide to the committee.
But in any case, where are those documents? Where are those approvals?
So if they are here, you can
let's have a look.
with them. We have a look.
Chair.
Or if not, you ask for some time and you bring them.
Chair, we are dealing with the National Information Technology Authority, and they say they are driving the IT revolution. So really, I think you should be having these things online. It's just a matter of logging in, because if you are encouraging the country to develop from a 60 billion economy to a 500 billion economy, and you cannot access these documents online, then I think there could be a problem that the user department is not guiding the country well when it comes to IT services. Really, I find it quite interesting.
You said you have copies. Could you share with us those copies?
Yes, Honorable Chairs.
The approvals.
We have copies, and also others are online.
No. We cannot confiscate your computer. We want physical copies because these are approvals from a different ministry.
The ones on online, Chair.
Approval.
Is another missing approval, Chair.
Let the MD first speak to those you have. Which one are you delivering? You mentioned which document are you delivering?
This was a request to Minister of Finance on the domestic area, and we
dated what?
Provided. This was dated December 2025.
Yes,
and
by from
Nita,
yes,
National Authority, where we listed the detailed and verified entries for that led up to the domestic area of 109 billion Ugandan shillings, and also the demand notice, and there are continuous correspondences between the Ministry of Finance and the allocation of.
Let him first introduce his documents. We need to access them.
Introduce the documents, then you can ask us.
And we kept on requesting even up to
so there are several request letters.
Yes, there are several request letters.
Yeah, you reach approval. After the request, where is the approval?
The approval, that is what is on the system that we to print out.
The approval was from who?
From Minister of Finance.
Signed by?
Signed as PSST.
It is not possible.
Chair, there's one thing I'm not understanding in this whole matter. When we talk about allocation, it is a duty of Parliament. I expected at least a document from them confirming that maybe a supplementary budget was brought before Parliament to take that decision. But I've not heard the big man talking about the supplementary budget.
By big man, you mean the MD?
The MD.
Is the
ED? Yeah. Well, ED.
ED.
So kindly, because allocation is a duty of Parliament, it's not a duty of Minister of Finance.
Yes.
You've been discussing about Minister of Finance, PST. We want to hear the role of Parliament in this whole matter.
Had you identified all your documents?
Honorable
Apart
Chair,
from
yes,
apart from approval?
Honorable Chair, yes, I have a request to.
Let's receive those. You can verify. Yes. Now, which document are you talking about? On the approval is from what?
Section 19.
Honorable Chair, yes, that is one of the documents, but we also have the approval on the supplementary
you
budget.
read the approval before we can't receive it in soft copy. First read the content.
supplementary budget of Uganda 21 billion 966 million for National Information Technology Authority, NITA, and a vote 126 to cater for the part payment of the outstanding obligation for the provision of internet services across government agencies. Reference is made to the meeting that was held on this, the engagements we have been always having with the ministry. That was held on the 9th of February 2026 to discuss the issue, the issue of budgeting.
But now that you say we need a hard copy of that, but now that you say it was approving for you a supplemental of 21 billion.
Yes.
Now the amount in question is 27 billion, which you paid.
Yes.
Your earlier allocation is 2 billion. When we add 21 on the 2 billion, that's how much? That's 23 billion.
24.
Approximately 23 or 24. You say 24. Now, the total amount you paid is 27.5 billion.
Yes.
And now 23 from 27, approximately 4 billion paid without approval. Do you have an explanation? That extra 4 billion?
Honorable Chair, yes, we also do, and that's what we're getting. And
let's finish this document, then you come in.
You had it open.
How I wish you came with printed copies, because this was the first query in the Auditor General's report, and I would have expected you to prepare with physical copies. Now, we have now 4 billion in question. Where is the approval for 4 billion? In case that approval for 21 actually exists. But as they locate that, but Honorable Bruce?
Thank you, Chair. And I just want to take them back to their document, Chair, on page 17.
You are moving fast.
It speaks to what exactly you're talking about.
Yes.
They are speaking about additional budget, which was adjusted supplementary. Now, when you look at their document on page 17, statement of appropriation based on classification of expenditure by nature in that financial year, provided the 18 billion is actually not on domestic carriers. It is on goods and services consumed in that financial year. The domestic area component below there in the fourth last line is empty. They have 2 billion they budgeted for. They never received money for this, and there was no adjustment by law on this, by what government provided. So if they paid the 18 as domestic areas, or the difference you're asking for, the provided to them was not for domestic areas, but for goods and services according to classification in their own document.
I think it also speaks to approvals. If there were changes made within the expenditure line.
Any payment to domestic areas beyond the 2 billion is all irregular, because the approval does not go beyond the 2 billion.
Maybe now it's a question of approval. You can access the microphone. We are here. Yes?
Yes, Honorable Chair, we had an approved supplementary budget of 18 billion.
18 billion?
Yes.
Yes.
We have a letter. Unfortunately, it's not a hard copy, but we'll avail it. It came all the way to Parliament, and it was approved. And then Finance sent us the funding.
So you have to supplement.
And our point, Chair, is that the approval of 18 is for goods and services, not for domestic areas.
Let's understand where we are. We had 25 billion, 21 billion, according to your first letter, which you are citing. There's another one approving to 18 billion.
There is no 21, it is 18, Chair.
No. It is their response. Now we are trying to examine if they have evidence on their responses.
So, Chair, the 21.9 was received in financial year 2025-2026. Okay, to bring down our domestic areas.
So the approval we are referring to is for the subsequent financial year.
Yes. Then the 18 billion applies to financial year 2024-2025.
So now that is this is the challenge we are having. Now we are asking you about 2024-2025. Yes. The letter which you haven't submitted, you are reading 21 billion, presumably for 2024-2025. Now you are rectifying, you are correcting the record.
Chair, the reason why we share the 21.9 is to show the movement in the domestic carriers position.
No. This audit is for 2024-2025. We expect that you avail evidence of approval before you spend this 27, this 25 billion. 0.58. We need those copies. We need the approval. Otherwise, there is no justification. You may be even whether they are ready or not. It's a question of accountability. Once you are invited, you either have the evidence or not. Yes, Honorable.
Chair, thank you. Talking about approvals and evidence from the ministry, I've had an opportunity to peruse through all the audit queries and the responses of Nita-U. You will notice that on every query, Nita-U is saying they got clearance, their engagements with the ministry. You can see we are granted subventions and everything. I note that almost on every query we shall get to, they will say they are not prepared with the documents. All the items have perused through. Following engagement with the ministry, following clearance, following what, but they don't have the evidence to put on table. Chair, I want you to guide if we are proceeding well without all
we are
this
proceeding well
ready,
because for every Auditor General's query or observation, we shall seek for clarity, and this is offering them a benefit of doubt. That whereas the Auditor General,
but every document, Chair, is not here, and I mean.
We cannot discuss other issues in anticipation. Let's address issue by issue and get a response issue by issue. So, in terms of the first aspect, you haven't availed evidence so far. You have a motion? Yes?
Chair, the motion I'm having, Robert Secretary is my name. I represent Manka County Rural District. Chair, the motion I'm interested to lay is that with the support of honorable members, we give these people time to go back DRH, because we are going to take a lot of time on them, yet everything is pending. And we may have even a whole day without a solution, because our solution would be on a document. And if that is the case, with your support, that's why I mentioned that these people should be guided to go and come back when they are prepared. I beg your loading on that.
I second the motion.
Yes, Honorable Kawadia.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I stand here to second the motion moved by Honorable Secretary Ko, because when you read through the document which this team has submitted before us, there is no single matter where they have concluded the query. There is no single query which has been addressed conclusively. So it's the main reason why I have to support the motion moved by Honorable Member.
Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, looking at the demeanor even of the second in command, the way she's looking at the computer,
body language expert.
Yes, I am looking at the way she's moving the mouse of the laptop in consultation with her colleague. I don't think these people are ready. So for that matter, I second the motion that these people
yes,
go
Honorable.
ahead and prepare.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also, on the same note, second the motion because without justification, we are wasting our time. Thank you.
Chair.
Yes.
I do second the motion because, Chair, there are quite a number of documents that you have asked the ED and his team. They have some online. The clerk is not around. We would have said that they transfer direct to the clerk so that he's able to print. He has stepped out briefly. And to me, I would request the Chair, through you, that you give them some time. They go back and reorganize because it's good you have told them what they need. Most of the things, especially on accountability committee like this, they are evidence-based. You are supposed to provide evidence. If you say there have been engagements with the Ministry of Finance, you give evidence because it's not verbal. If you say there are parliamentary approvals, you give evidence that indeed we approved, especially some of us who have been here before in 11th Parliament. Maybe we are the ones who approved that we have forgotten. It also happens. But when you remind us with evidence, we shall be able to recall and say, yeah, we passed it here. So, Chair, I put it across that please give the entity more time. They're going to organize. We have 6 months to consider these things. We have just been given time, 6 months, to interface with the entities. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Now, let me guide. If looking through all observations by the Auditor General, they speak to one fact, that various aspects and expenditures are in question. Our ordinary expectation was for Nita-U to appear with the supportive documents. And this is an audit of 2024-2025. You were even supposed to appear earlier. These reports have just been reinstituted. Our expectation was that when you're coming to appear, you would prepare to justify. Because you cannot say you gave the auditors, but they didn't consider these positions. But also, when you come before the committee, you cannot showcase in a hard copy of proof that actually these documents exist. So that you can now respond to the observations of the Auditor General. Now, it is very hard to believe that the documents exist. Even if you attempt to show us on your laptop, the Committee of Parliament cannot receive by sight. We must receive physical copies, which you must own. That actually these are copies from Nita-U. Otherwise, you can show us a draft and deny it tomorrow. You cannot. I saw her carrying a laptop for us to view. Of course, maybe it was diligence that let me show you it exists. But no, that's not procedure. Now that these documents exist, and in circumstances that there is a motion moved by members and supported, I would rule as follows. One, we are sending you back, not because you are unprepared, but because it is mandatory for you to account for this vote. And there is not enough time for preparation. I don't want to believe that you are unaware that you had to provide backup evidence and documents because you offered explanation in words. Any allegation you make of any approval must be substantiated. Interestingly, in your response, you did not say that you secured approval. You are only raising it now. So I'm sending you back to organize the documents. It is now 4 p.m. We have CID here. I want CID to accompany you and receive the documents today. The CID will accompany you to your office and back, so that these documents are delivered today. Then we shall not communicate to you the most appropriate time to engage with you further. But because you had a full year to prepare a response, ordinarily we were supposed to meet you last week, and we extended to this week. Still, you came without the documents. From your own submission that you have the documents, I want the CID to accompany you, get the documents, you return and submit through our secretariat so that they are received formally. I don't want them to be received by police, but police to accompany you to your offices. You return with the documents, submit, so that we can now form opinion on when we can have engagements with you. For now, we believe the documents exist. We are according you that benefit, but we are constrained to move because these are substantial figures in billions, and ordinarily it requires approval. Where you think that you need further explanation, please put it in writing to inform us before we choose when and how to invite you. Make an elaborate response. Of course, there was a concern over your response, repeatedly saying the same thing. But please, yes.
Chair, I would suggest that since this is our first engagement with them, you give them up to tomorrow to present the documents to your clerk.
No.
No, I don't support that.
Chair, additional information, Chair.
No.
Chair, who is saying no?
Okay, Honorable, let us start.
Mr. Chairman, I was the first on the mic. Mr. Chairman, we are interfacing with Nita-U for the first time. Today is 29th. You have already said it's already at 4. For us giving our CIDs to accompany Nita-U to go and bring documents, if there were issues that we are doubting, which we would even handle internally, that maybe those documents are missing, we would give them a benefit of doubt up to, because it's already 4, given the jam. I don't even know where the offices are. Where are your offices?
No.
No, yeah, kindly let me finish here.
If you want, if you want to
where are your offices?
Offer them defense.
No, I'm not offering them defense.
I saw rule.
Here.
No, you're out of order. I saw rule. CID accompany them. We need the documents now because they exist. Meeting adjourned.
Even there is jam. Chair, are you going to pay for overtime? Because they are going to work beyond 5.
Inspiring Uganda.
MTN voice bundle. Lord.